up our circle of compassion. We were real and mattered to each other. Seeing through each other's eyes. Sometimes the very people we are closest to become unreal to us. We might easily assume we know what life is like for them and forget that, like us, they are always changing. Their experience is always new. We lose sight of how fully they, too, are living with hurts and fears, how hard life can be on the inside. Jeff and Margot came to therapy because their marriage was sliding downhill. Jeff had been a vigorous person until 8 years ago, when he contracted Lyme disease on one of their camping trips. Month by month, the aches and fatigue were increasing. His fingers had swollen and stiffened, so he could no longer do his job as a fine carpenter. Although he tried to remain hopeful, his depression was deepening. Margot did what she could, working overtime, making meals, cleaning the house. But she felt as if Jeff didn't really appreciate her efforts. "I'm never enough," she said. The way Jeff saw it was that Margot begrudged the whole situation. He could tell by the grim set of her jaw and her terse words. And she made him feel guilty, as if it were his fault that he was sick and couldn't do his part. In our sessions, we did a simple psychodrama process known as role reversal. First, as Margot listened carefully, Jeff described how much shame and frustration he felt about being sick. He felt impotent, as if he were a wimp who couldn't be counted on for anything. He talked about how scared he was about his future, and also how lonely he felt because Margot didn't seem to register the enormity of what had happened to him. He had lost his health, his life as he had known it. When he was done, they switched chairs. Assuming his posture, and as well as she could, even his facial expressions and tone of voice, Margot became Jeff. Speaking from his world, she talked about how it was to live with Lyme disease. When they returned to their original places, Jeff let her know that hearing her relate his experience so clearly helped him feel more understood by her. When it was Margot's turn to describe her experience, she began by talking about feeling unappreciated. But then, after a few moments of silence, she blurted out, "I've just felt so helpless. You've been plagued by sickness, you, the person I love, and I can't make you feel better. And I don't know where it's going to end up." Margot was angry at life, not at Jeff. And under the anger, she felt deep grief about how hard their life had become. When they switched places, Jeff spoke as Margot, describing what it was like to feel powerless, to feel their life was being ruined and there was nothing she could do about it. When the process was complete, Margot and Jeff held each other, both in tears. He hadn't realized that she was suffering with such feelings of frustration and grief, and she had no idea how lonely he felt without her understanding. Their mutual accusations of, "You make me feel," had turned into, "What can I do to help?" Thoreau writes, "Is there a greater miracle than to see through another's eyes, even for an instant?" As Margot and Jeff were finding, seeing through another's eyes is at the very heart of compassion. We don't have to do the formal process of role reversal in order to understand how life is for our spouse or child, sister or friend. We can imagine how it would feel to be in this person's body and mind, living in his or her circumstances. As we allow ourselves to fully open to their conscious and vulnerable being, we feel naturally close and tender. Hafiz writes, "It happens all the time in heaven, and someday it will begin to happen again on earth, that men and women who give each other light often will get down on their knees, and with tears in their eyes will sincerely speak, saying, 'My dear, how can I be more loving to you? How can I be more kind?' If we ask ourselves when meeting anyone, friend or stranger, how can I be more kind?